morning. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danie, Laurel.
And I'm Delos Santos. Here are the biggest stories to kickstart the trading day Friday. The Bangko Sentral is now preparing strategies to unwind support to the economy that has been heavily battered by COVID-19. But the BSP says they're not in a hurry to tighten policy interventions.
As infections continue to climb, the government places 14 more areas under the stricter Alert Level 3 classification.
Unemployment further eases in November.
And it's now easier for foreign retailers to set up shop in the Philippines. That's after the measure lowering their minimum investment hurdle has been signed into law. We begin our broadcast with the Bangko Sentral now laying down a strategy to unwind its support to the pandemic-stricken economy.
But BSP Governor Ben Jokno says the timing of the exit from an easy policy remains very uncertain for now. Jokno says the priority of the central bank at the moment is to ensure the sustainability of recovery and to prevent long-term scarring effects, given that recovery is still in its early stages. The Bangko Sentral's approach will be outcome-based rather than calendar-based, meaning this will depend on various domestic factors, such as liquidity and credit dynamics. The BSP's exit strategy, which it calls as Pandexit, includes returning to normal operations, preparing for the next crisis, and eventual raising of interest rates. Recall that last year, the Monetary Board kept policy rates at record lows to help stimulate the economy. Jokno also expects that budget support to the government will be reduced within the year. Now, 14 more cities and provinces will revert to Alert Level 3 from January 9 to 15. Acting presidential spokesperson Carlo Nograles said the IATF has agreed to place Baguio City, Dagupan City, Santiago City, and Cagayan under stricter restrictions. The same goes for Angeles City, Bataan, Olongapo City, Pampanga, Zambales, Batangas, and the cities of Lucena, Naga, Iloilo, and Lapu-Lapu. The government made the decision after the country hit a 3-month high of new infections on Thursday.
The country's jobless rate eased to its lowest since January 2021 in the month of November. Now, fresh data from the PSA showed that unemployment stood at 6.5%. That's lower than the 7.4% recorded in October and the 8.9% logged in September. In actual figures, there were about 3.16 million unemployed Filipinos in November. That's lower by almost 350,000 in October. However, the PSA also noted that the number of underemployed Filipinos rose to 7.62 million in November. That is nearly 600,000 more underemployed people compared to October of 2021.
All right, it's the last trading day of the first week of 2022. Dan, give us a roundup of the new year thus far for the local bourse.
Okay, so 1 week into 2022, how are you feeling, Jess? This week has been quite a ride, but at least if you take a look at Wall Street overnight, I mean, despite a bit of a bump, they did seem to be steadying. And in fact, Asia looks set for some gains here. I'm going to share the Asia Pacific terminal here so that you can see. Now, of course, a lot of things happened this past week. We saw a hawkish Fed, major mobility restrictions, particularly in European countries, travel bans across the board, and of course, continuing rising of the Omicron-driven cases worldwide. Now here on the home front, you can see our index sliding and continuing to slide there. That's down 0.17% at the open. This even as the BSP has maintained its generally accommodative stance, and that has gone in the other direction compared, of course, to the U.S. Tightening stance that has rocked the markets. You've also got Thursday's value turnover quite light. So, investors staying on the sidelines here. That was just 5.21 billion pesos worth of trade. Foreigners also turning net sellers. So we lost about 104 million pesos worth of net outflows. Let's take a look at our leaders and laggards here for the opening. I'll just pull out the one-day chart for you. A bit more of green this morning compared to yesterday. At least you can see Bloomberg Bloomberry rather, not Bloomberg, up by close to 2%, followed by Metro Pacific and SM Prime. So, a mix of casinos, a mix of infrastructure, and also property developer here leading the charge. But you can see one of our biggest, retailers here when it comes to consumption, Pure Gold, that's the biggest loser this morning, down by more than 3%, followed by Aboitiz and the PLDT. I just want to take a quick peek, Jess, as well at the 5-day movement to see how we've been doing. Now, in 1 week, unfortunately, the first trading week of 2022, we are down by 3.6%, only 2 in the green as of today. We still have, of course, the rest of the trading day to reverse some fortunes here, but so far it's just Meralco and JG Summit in the green for 2022.
We're talking about JG Summit, of course, they are, of course, in control as well of airlines like Cebu Pacific. Might as well take a look at the airlines, Danie. I mean, they are expecting further disruptions here.
Exactly. So all eyes are on that. I mean, just as an example, you've got Alaska Airlines that got 120 flights in 1 day yesterday. It seems like, a lifetime ago when we were reporting, airlines were beefing up and even re-employing the employees that they had laid off. That was actually just a few weeks ago, and now back-to-back cancellations yet again. And this on my terminal is the Bloomberg airline index. It's actually stayed quite, on the positive end, at least for the first month or the past month. It's still up by 5.5%. But here on the home front, you've got PAL, Cebu Pacific, and Air Asia Philippines announcing that dozens of their Hong Kong flights have already been canceled, of course, after the city has sealed its borders to travelers from the Philippines. But Jess, travel bans are not the only problem of airlines. Now, what is the main problem? Cebu Pacific on Thursday decided to cancel several of their local flights due to the manpower shortage. Employees are getting sick. So that's the main issue here. SebPac has canceled 24 domestic flights from Jan 7 to 10. And this happens even as 100% of their flight crew is fully vaccinated, getting boosted, and undergoing regular antigen tests. Cebu Pacific this morning, however, trading in the green, that's up by 0.25% to 40 pesos and 10 centavos.
Now, here are the other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. President Duterte has signed into law a measure that explicitly qualifies private schools and nonprofit hospitals for tax relief. The Proprietary Educational Institutions Tax Act amends a section of the Internal Revenue Code to make clear that private schools and nonprofit hospitals are eligible for a temporary 1% tax under the CREATE law. Now, once grade expires by June next year, these institutions will be imposed a tax rate of 10%. But if their gross income from unrelated trade, business, or other activities exceeds 50% of their total gross income, the 10% tax rate will be imposed.
The Energy Department said it will ease the requirements for renewable energy companies seeking to avail of incentives, that's including a 10% tax rate. This in a bid to support more sustainable and clean energy investments. Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi said they are keen on addressing long-standing concerns regarding the incentives laid out in the Renewable Energy Act. He added that the amended department circular covers the implementation of tax provisions, particularly the automatic availability of the 10% corporate tax rate and zero-rate VAT.
The Development Bank of the Philippines has extended a 700 million peso loan to an industrial park developer to finance its projects as the manufacturing sector recovers. The state-owned lender granted a 7-year syndicated term loan to Science Park of the Philippines, which has developed industrial parks in Laguna, Batangas, Bataan, and Cebu. The developer is building 2 more facilities in Bataan and Batangas, which will have a road network, storm drainage systems, water distribution, wastewater treatment, power, and telecommunications.
While Typhoon Odette left the Philippine area of responsibility nearly 3 weeks ago, agriculture damage caused by the typhoon continues to rise by the day. According to the latest data from the Agriculture Department, the figure is now about 11.1 billion pesos. This includes damage to commodities such as rice, corn, coconut, livestock, and fisheries. The country recorded 17,000 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday. That's the highest in over 3 months. More Omicron variant cases were also detected.
Now, for an Octa fellow, the spread of the more transmissible variant might be a blessing in disguise, but not all experts agree. Jen Calimon with a story.
Almost a week into the new year, COVID-19 cases continue to rise as more Omicron cases are being detected in the country. On Thursday, the Health Department reported 29 new cases of the variant, 10 of which are returning Filipinos, while the others are local cases from NCR. This brings the total number of Omicron cases to 43. But for an Octa research fellow, the additional Omicron cases amid the swelling of COVID infections has an upside. He considers it a natural immunity, which could even lead to the pandemic's endgame.
Omicron is the beginning of the end of the pandemic because Omicron is going to provide the kind of population immunity that should stabilize our societies and it should allow us to reopen. It will be hard for 1 month, but afterwards it should be a blessing.
Austriaco says that antibodies increase after a breakthrough infection due to Omicron, acting as a natural vaccine. Studies abroad show the variant could provide super immunity among the vaccinated. In a study from Oregon Health and Science University, antibodies multiply by 1,000% compared to antibodies formed after receiving a full dose of the Pfizer jab. But for other experts, this is no reason to let one's guards down.
A lot of cases are going in the hospitals, although they are mild, but please don't take this into something like it's only mild. We want to protect the vulnerable population. So please take care of yourself, get yourself vaccinated, and follow the health protocol.
Oo nga, we can have immunity, pero bago ka magka-immunity ay gumastos na ng magkano? 700,000 pesos yung pamilya mo kasi na-ICU ka.
Reporting for News 5, Jen Calimon, We Are One News.
Now pausing for a quick break, and after that, George Barcelon returns as the president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
And he joins us on the show to discuss the impact of current restrictions on the business sector. Stay tuned.
Good morning. You're still watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danie, Laurel.
And I'm Jess Delos Santos.
Berjaya Hotel insists the Makati LGU's order to shut it down has no legal basis.
While other quarantine hotels are now under the close watch of the PNP to avoid another breach, Marty Bautista has the report.
After the tourism department suspended its accreditation over the protocol breach of returning Filipino Guanachua, the Berjaya Hotel hit another roadblock. The Makati government on Thursday has shut down the hotel following the DOT suspension order. But for the hotel management, the move has no legal basis. After all, they were given 15 days to appeal the decision. They argue the law does not penalize a hotel for the non-reporting of a quarantine skipper. Adding to their concerns are the 18 guests quarantined in the facility who tested positive for COVID-19. They have yet to be pulled out by the Bureau of Quarantine. Government is now keeping a close watch on hotels serving as quarantine facilities. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año instructed the PNP to check on hotels to see if there are protocol breaches. Earlier, Quezon City Police inspected 2 hotels within their jurisdiction.
Ito ay tugon sa pag-uutos ng ating Pangulo, President Rodrigo Duterte, na malagyan ng 2 pulis sa ang bawat hotel quarantine facilities.
Out of the 408 accredited quarantine hotels, 120 are in NCR. 97 of those are in Makati, including Berjaya.
Sa ngayon, yun lang naman yung nakitang may violation. So far, sa mga nakausap kong hotel kanina, halos lahat naman ay sumusunod sa IATF rules, lalong-lalo na yung prohibiting the persons to go out from their respective AORs.
The PNP is now taking extra measures to ensure that all hotels adhere to quarantine regulations.
Lahat po ng hotels ay meron naman po tayong tao. It will be 2 personnel in every shift. So in a day, meron po tayong 4 na tao in every hotel sa buong, lalong-lalo na rito sa area ng Makati.
The Philippine Hotel Owners Association assures that their members strictly abide by the government guidelines. For News 5, Marty Bautista. We are One News.
With the city government of Makati ordering the closure of Berjaya Hotel, hotel management have started transferring individuals that have yet to finish their quarantine. In a statement, the company said that they currently have 8 COVID-positive guests and 80 other people that are still under mandatory quarantine.
President Duterte has signed into law the measure that essentially opens up the country's retail sector to more foreign businesses. RA 11595 reduces the minimum paid-up capital for foreign retailers to 25 million pesos. That's from the previous 125 million pesos under the 20-year-old Retail Trade Liberalization Act. The government hopes this measure will attract more foreign direct investments into the country. But for Philippine Retailers Association's Vice Chairman Roberto Claudio, MSMEs involved in the retail sector will be most affected by the law since they will now have to compete with foreign retailers.
George Barcelon returns as president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In a statement, PCCI said Barcelon was elected by its board of directors on December 3. Barcelon calls for unity in the country's largest business organization as the Philippines faces a, quote, not so auspicious 2022. He says PCCI is also looking forward to collaborating with the next administration for the drafting of an economic agenda.
Lots on the shoulders of the new administration of the Business Chamber, from the year-starter surge in cases, the devastation of Typhoon Odette, and the entry of a new government.
Now, no better person to discuss all that with than PCCI's newly elected president, a returning one at that, George Barcelon. Good morning, Sir George. First things first, congratulations.
Congratulations, sir.
Morning, Danie and Jess.
Okay.
And also the televiewers.
All right, new position for you over the PCCI, but also quite a starter for the year, like what Dan mentioned, close to 1 week into 2022, stricter alert level 3 for Metro Manila and nearby provinces as cases surge. How is the sector coping with this new wave in infections and restrictions as well?
Well, in a way that we expected the surge to happen because there are more mobilities and more interaction during the last Christmas season. But what we're hearing is although the number of infection is high, the severe case and the mortality rate is kind of contained. Now, how this would move forward, we have to closely monitor. They're talking about infection rate breaching 20,000 a day. But we look at the new year with a guarded optimism because we hear both sides. No, one side is be careful, which we still are following all the hygiene protocol, and the other side is saying that the Omicron could be the vaccine for this COVID-19. So I, being more of an optimist, would like to favor the good news. But as I said, guarded optimism. As you mentioned earlier, last November, the unemployment rate has gone down because we had alert levels went down in the last 2 months, no, and many of the services, restaurants, and the other services were open, and people were hired back, no, to resume their work. But unfortunately, now we are now on alert level 3. Some of these activities may be constrained. The activities, services, indoor is limited now to 30% of those who are vaccinated. And outside, again, is limited to 50%. There has been study or there has been indication that alert level might go up. But we still maintain that as long as the curve, okay, is flattened, no? Ibig sabihin, yung mga hospital, hindi pa naman na overwhelmed. Kaya pa naman nila, no? And there should be no real broad brush lockdown, but granularity, no? As explained earlier, in Baguio City, in some of these places, no, the alert level has been higher and more restriction. Okay sa amin yun because I think that's important also for the health side, no. But the fact that the numbers are going up, but it's still manageable. So we'd like the government to really approach it on the granularity level. And LGU, because we on the ground, we have better coordination with the LGUs. Yung chamber namin na dito sa mga ibang region, no, at saka sa mga syudad. Thank you.
Okay, given all that as well, sir, of course, some experts are already calling some upside here with the current wave, but at the same time, with restrictions in place, this is still going to result in some economic loss. How much of a loss or foregone revenues are we looking at here for the sector and the probability that restrictions might even be extended or even heightened in the future?
Well, based on historical numbers, yung fourth quarter usually up, okay, because of the Christmas season. And we would expect a normal slowdown in January. And then coupled with this COVID issues, we would think that the last quarter, there's an estimate on the last quarter growth, no, for our country. I think it's more closer to almost beyond, it breached 6% for the last quarter. I mean, don't quote me on that. No, we're still waiting for official statistics. But the first quarter, having started, as I said, inauspiciously because of the COVID surge, definitely may not reach that number. No, we were during the higher alert level, we were just maintaining 4.5% to 5% growth. So we can see if maybe a few percentage off the growth of the last quarter.
Sir, can we talk about what you've already brought up, which is the unemployment figures? You can see on my Bloomberg terminal here, it's just been in a range basically, but at least the last print 6.5% for November, lower naman than what we were seeing previously. Is there some risks to this figure that might go up because of the possible surge in cases, or has the sector been agile enough to absorb the workers that have been displaced at least in the past couple of years? And also, sir, what about the unvaccinated? What's your plan there?
Well, before, when there was a shortage of vaccines, no, we shared our thoughts that for those who are needed by the company, that they should be allowed to work, no, and to be, of course, yung requirement na to be tested. Okay, of course, there are various opinion, no, dapat yung mga ayaw mapaguna, kailangan sila mismo na gumastos diyan sa testing. And we maybe personally and some of my friends in business are of the opinion that kung kailangan mo ng tao and they're not vaccinated, whether it's because kulang ng vaccine o meron silang comorbidity issues, we pay for the testing for the safety of those who are in the workplace, no, for those who are vaccinated. So we do that, and that's something that I've been over the past so many months. I've talked to many of the government heads that we should be prepared to ramp up our antigen rapid test kits, primarily because we know whether you are vaccinated or not, you get infected also. Okay? And marami naman ang breakthrough that we know. This is really for us to monitor ourselves, no? As a matter of fact, I mentioned this many times. I said, dapat sa grassroots level, sa barangay level, bigyan natin ng yung really, sana nga, libre na eh. To give it to them, have them tested, because it's important for us to move forward. It's important also to open the education side. Kawawa naman yung mga kabataan natin. For 2 years, I mean, they've been locked down, no? And the kind of education they're getting is really bad. Kulang sa broadband, at saka, to be honest, magastos sa mga mahihirap, no?
So, sir, just to clarify po, as PCCI President, are you in favor of restricting workers that are unvaccinated?
Well, as I said, it depends on the company's demand. Okay, if they feel that they need them, then they should have them tested. If they're not tested, then I would agree that not to allow them. Okay, in the meantime, because mahirap na kung sila mismo positibo at saka mahawa yung mga iba sa workplace, and that of course would not be good. So as I said, if somebody is not tested, they should not report for work because of the fear, no? But for those company who needs them because they have enough order or the services is needed, that small amount of money, I think the company can spare, no, to have them tested. Kung negative sila, at least every other week or every other 2 weeks, no, to have them tested, and they should be allowed. That's my stance on this, no. So.
Now, shifting to a different topic here, Sir George, you have the president also inking into law the amendments to the Retail Trade Liberalization Act, effectively, in a way, lowering the required paid-up capital for foreign investors to 25 million. You have been backing the move from the get-go, but how do you address concerns that this is going to impact small businesses?
Yes, I think this will. Previously, when this was being deliberated in the Congress and the Senate, actually they were thinking of bringing it down to quite a very low level. At that time, I think the number was $200,000 US, and we felt that that's too low. No, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come in because we want, of course, we encourage investment, foreign investors to come in, but to also share, no, either know-how, technology, or unique services. So you require a certain size. As I noted, the new law that was signed, Retail Trade Liberalization, has pegged it, no, yung threshold of 25 million pesos. And that is, I think that is a fair threshold, which is about $500,000, no, $500,000. And for those operating more than one stores, ang cap dyan is, I believe it's like 10 million pesos, which is equivalent to $200,000 on the average. So I think that those are numbers that are fair and would be attractive for people who comes in. And our concern for the MSME would sort of be really assure them that it would be good for our country, for the country, because this thing, people coming in with new investment amounts to, really is more jobs, no? And that is what is needed now. Earlier, we were talking about the unemployment rate. And all of these are plus factors for us to create more jobs, to create more trade and commerce for the country.
Okay. Sir, before we let you go, congratulations on the re-election as president of the PCCI, but it's going to be a tough year. What are your immediate first steps?
Well, even before the new year, when South was hit badly with Odette, we were on hand and ready to help our regional chapters. We rally our PCCI to donate, and many of them donated generously, so that we were able to send funding or goods to Siargao, to Surigao, to the Negros area, and also to Cebu. And we helped out, getting logistic to send down the generator that were on loan from Meralco and their personnel to Cebu, so that they can have some power. So these are things that we do right away, whether it's a new, especially now with the new, facing the new year, we'd like to hit the road running, and we do our best in helping our constituents. Thank you.
Sir, congratulations and all the best as you steer that ship forward, George Barcelon, PCCI President.
Thank you very much, Danie and Jess, and congratulations also for the full show that you have right now for the new year.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that's a first look into the business day this Friday, January 7, 2022. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danie Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.